Hi. Okay. Thanks. I want to talk about children and specifically children in education and what we can do differently.
Well, we think it's a wonderful thing how the children have come forth to educate you.
Yes. Yeah.
To remind you of what really matters, and who hold on to their true knowing for as long as they possibly can. We're not kidding.
Yeah.
But you might have meant something different.
I do. Specifically, you know, I didn't think that I had a question when I got here. I thought, oh, I'll just be. And then as soon as I sat down, I thought, oh my gosh, I would love to know what Abraham thinks about, or what you have to tell us in terms of our education system and how it's working or not working, and what we can do differently. Like a lot of people right now are searching for an answer, and I'm definitely one of them. And I'm curious.
Well, here's the emotional grid that we would like to help you lay. First and most important, there is more value in the coming together of the teachers and students in the environment, just from their interaction with one another, than anything that in terms of knowledge that is being imparted and retained. And while certainly there is information that is beneficial that they may begin to apply in their life, there's not very much that they are getting from school,
Right.
that they will really apply. And if any of you are wondering about that, think about what you learned and how you are applying it, and you will realize that you pretty much just figure things out as best you can, and that school really didn't have that much benefit in terms of what you picked up in terms of knowledge, that life is the knowledge giver. But school is a focused environment that provides contrasting experiences and lots of interaction that is of huge value and importance. In other words, we think everything is right about it in that sense. So give us some specifics about, in other words, if you want to know how we feel about school, we think it is a wonderful thing. If you would ask us, do we think that school should be abolished? We would say never, 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 never. In other words, we think that interaction is of great value. Now ask us something else.
So what about when we look at the public school system, for example, in this country, what about the fact that the majority of them are failing students in terms of dropout rate and being incarcerated, and the stuff that's going on? I'm curious about...
Well, we do not think that one has anything to do with the other. In other words, incarceration isn't because the school is failing. Incarceration is because you live in a nation who makes rules that people naturally break. The incarceration system is because it is a business that needs to fill beds, and you can't fill a bed if you don't make a rule.
All right, then skip the incarceration part.
Well, it's another really big subject, isn't
it?
But it's a subject that's really misunderstood.
Right.
In other words, kids, we know for sure that changing the structure of schools would increase, in other words, if you could wrestle more kids to the ground and make them, an attempt to make them more cooperative to the rules, more of them would go to jail, not fewer of them. Because the jail is an indication of rebellion, and rebellion is as a result of perceived confinement. So if there is anything that the school might do to make the ratio of people going to jail less, it should provide more freedom, more obvious freedom. Like, come if you want to, rather than you must come or you will be in trouble. Like, come and learn this if it appeals to you, not you will be in trouble if you don't. That's not working out for any of you. Right. On any level, whether it is in the school or otherwise, you see.
So is there anything specifically that you would tell us that is there a way that we could serve our children in a different way that would help them more?
Acknowledge that they are free and expect them to live happily ever after. And practice that in your grid so powerfully that they get that every time they're around you. Mm-hmm. In other words, they can be in school and need to be there at a certain time and need to be in a certain place at the school at a certain time, and they can still feel your overwhelming feeling of their freedom, because they're free to think, they're free to feel, they're free to offer a vibration, they're free to withhold, they're free to involve themselves, they're free not to. In other words, freedom is abounding all over the place. And as you acknowledge that, you see, it isn't your action that is making the difference in your lives anyway. It's the way you are feeling. And so if you are a parent with kids in school, or if you are a teacher involved in the system, if you will give your dominant intention to acknowledging the parts of them that are free, so that's the part that you're enhancing vibrationally, mm-hmm. sending it out like a Wi-Fi signal through the campus, then more of them will begin to feel it, you see. Mm-hmm. Think about it in your own experience. Don't you rebel whenever anyone tries to boss you around? Don't you? Mm-hmm. Don't you naturally know that you are free? Can't you feel that that's what the big grid is for you? That you are free, that you are free, that you are free. And when anyone implies otherwise, that's why you freak out, you see? Mm-hmm. Because you know that you are free. And so but does that answer, does that feel like enough? Or does it feel to you like you need to do something more proactive?
It doesn't feel like enough, because the bigger picture or the bigger question for me is about the system and how. But
you see, the way you affect anything is by dealing with your grid, and mm-hmm. and you see what you're trying to do here, and we understand completely. You have an idea of what you want, and then you want to fill in the grid with behavior from the system so that your expectation of results can shift. Mm. And we say you're getting the cart before the horse. So what you want to do is feel it the way you want it to be. And as you feel it the reason that it doesn't feel like enough is because you haven't tried it yet. So because you haven't actually established a grid of feeling their freedom and of feeling appreciation for the system and feeling appreciation for their opportunity to interact and co-create and just feeling in other words, when you look at your world, there's a lot going on here. Have you noticed? You are busy. You are busy and getting busier because every day somebody is inventing something that they think you want, and they convince you that you might need or want. So your lives are getting more and more and more and more and more filled with more and more and more and more details, you see. Mm-hmm. And so what we're getting at here is it's not the structure or it's not the behavior. It's not even the rules and the requirements and the regulations that are making up how you feel in your life experience. It's your perspective of it. And what we are wanting to say to you, as you pose the question to us, what can be done to help this? We're not kidding you when we say, if you will see it as all right, and you will see them as free, because it is not through their behavior that they are creating, it is through their vibration that they are creating. Their behavior is a reflection of their vibration, but it is through their vibration that they are creating the grid that then fills in with the impulses that become their behavior. Did you hear that? That's really a big thing to understand. So and when we ask you the question, do you think it is enough? And you said, no, I don't think it's enough because I think the system needs to be changed. And we want to say to you, the reason that you don't think that it is enough is because you haven't done it and found the powerful effects of doing it. Mm-hmm. And when you do it for a while, and then you experience the powerful effects of having done it with those close to you, with those that you are able to be aware of, as you are able to see the grid fill in because of the grid work that you're doing, you will begin to feel the power of it. And you will come to say, not only do I feel like it's enough, I feel like it is the only thing that works. It's the only thing that I could do. Because you can start fighting the system. You could open another school of another framework. You could do all kinds of things. But if you do it from your awareness of what you feel is not working, then you're starting out from a vibrational grid that will just fill in with more evidence of what you don't want. It's happening all over the world. People are creating all kinds of alternative schools that are not getting much better results because they created them from a vibrational grid that said something was wrong and these kids aren't free. But if you will look at them right where they are and accept the total freedom that they have, things are happening all around you, but your reaction to them is your choice, and your reaction to them is what you're doing with your grid. And if you can just jump in anywhere, any place, and get control of your grid, finally decide this is the 17 seconds that I'm going to begin it. Just get control of your grid and then watch what happens, and then get more control of your grid and then watch what happens, and then get more control of your grid and watch what happens. Before you know it, you will feel your own empowerment, and you will know your absolute freedom, because you are free to respond to anything in a way that will fill in with more things that reflect the way you would like it to be. You see what's going on? People are observing, not liking, creating a grid, getting more, observing, not liking, creating a grid, getting more, observing, not liking, creating a grid. How are you going to break the cycle? By responding differently, by creating a grid deliberately. That's what deliberate creation is. By creating a vibration, by fostering a vibration, by practicing a vibration, by reaching for an emotion, by going general enough that you can feel good anyway, that you can feel good anyway, that you can feel good anyway. And then the grid starts filling in, and then you start knowing your power and your joy. The kids know it. They're not nearly as hung up on school as the administrators and the teachers are. They don't go to learn. They're not there to learn. They're there because they're there, and they're there because there are other kids there, and they're there. Some of them will tell you that they're